I was reading an article by Ilana Cohen. She's out of Sydney, Australia, and she mentioned something in an article that I thought I should talk about. So, every person that's working in an online course of some format has to make a decision between building your own online course platform or using a third party one, something that's off the shelf. You sign up for it and then you use their platform. Those are kind of like the um, two real options. Now, there are a lot of really good third-party solutions out there. There's Teachable, there's Kajabi, there's Thinkific. If you're a Keep or an Infusionsoft user, you might consider Customer Hub. And these are targeted towards people who aren't necessarily very technical. They have some content, they want to make a course out of it, and it's a way to get started in that space without having to bring in a consultant team, work with someone to build your site. And if you use their instructions and the tutorials that they usually provide, they're usually very good. You can have a site up and running, honestly, within a day or two. It really isn't that involved. So you focus on your content, they focus on making your course available. Now, one thing that Alana does say in her article is that any developer of any sort would definitely go with a build your own solution, because if you understand the technology, there are some really good platforms. LearnDash is the one that we use most, but there are plenty of other ones. They run on top of WordPress, which is kind of the de facto WordPress building platform. And with a little bit of work and using something like maybe WooCommerce, you might want to add a membership program like MemberPress, Wishlist Member. We service a lot of Keep or Infusionsoft users, so we use a tool called Memberium. With that, you've got a solution that works really well for an online course. Now, why would you pick one versus the other? The third-party approach gets you up and running very quickly. The startup costs tend to be very reasonable. Uh, there are two things that, the cons, right? The cons are that as you get more and more customers, these third-party solutions tend to charge you more and more and more. They're built to scale. And so you might get to the point where, let's say you get 1,000 customers. Now you're paying them a lot of money. You didn't pay them a lot at the beginning, but now you're paying them a lot of money. And so that's something that's a negative. The other thing is, as you're starting off, you really never know what you're going to need in the future. You can kind of guess at it, you can make some assumptions, but at some point you may need a feature that these third-party tools do not provide, in which case you're stuck. So that's kind of the negative of that. On the build your own approach, let's say using WordPress with LearnDash, maybe sticking in there WooCommerce for e-commerce, you've got some upfront costs. Now, just to give you an idea, for $2,300, we will put up a site for you and get you going with no problem at all. So it's not like it's a massive expense, but there's an initial cost. There's going to be some work working with us. Along with that, we give you some advice, which for a lot of people is very valuable. But you're up and running, but now your monthly costs are relatively flat and they're not that high. LearnDash, for example, will run you $199 a year. Your hosting can be anywhere from $15 to $30 a month. And if you get 1,000 customers, you're still paying that same base. So that margin just grows and grows and grows. At some point, if you get so many customers, you may have to do some upgrading of your infrastructure. But that's a great problem to have. It means you've got so much business that now you've got to kind of grow it. But there's a very smooth transition upward without having a lot of major costs. The other thing is, when you're writing on top of something like WordPress, sky's the limit. There is really no feature you couldn't add to the site that you couldn't do with that. For example, we do a lot of work with people that want to build community into their learning environment. So that enables customers to talk to each other. I'm taking lesson one and I can talk to other people, ask them questions about what are my challenges? Where am I stuck? That sort of community features is something that I don't know of too many third-party solutions that include that. You'd almost have to go and get a Facebook group and run that in parallel. I've seen some people make use of a tool called Discord for adding that, but now you got a second login. It's kind of a hack where in a WordPress environment you can take something like Buddy Boss, add that to the site, and now you're adding community features to your already running Learn Dash online course. So those are the two, the two options. Everybody's got to go through this. Some people prefer to go one way, other people prefer others based on their priorities, based on their levels of technology experience, based on their budgets. So I wanted to throw that out there because, it's something that everybody building an online course has to consider. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them for you.